Good day, viewers. Compliment of the season, and welcome to the Polity Talk Show on the Polity TV online. Of course, the Polity Talk Show is your program, our program where we have interaction with stakeholders whose opinion count in the polity on issues as they evolve. And of course, on the Polity Talk Show today, my guest is Barrister Omotola Odusola, the Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, Okitipupa Division. Young lawyers encounter challenges when they enter into the profession. What challenges did you encounter when you began practice?
I was born into a family of a father with 4 wives and 15 children. My mom being the fourth and the last wife. So my father was a lawyer, and I have elder siblings that are also lawyers. So at a very young age of 10, I was in GS1. And my mom has just 2 of us. And I had elder siblings from my other stepmothers that are lawyers. So that informed my decision to also be a lawyer so that my mom will also have a lawyer. Okay, first and foremost, I would like to explain what a young lawyer is and make you understand that there are 2 categories of young lawyer. By the Nigerian Bar Association standard, a young lawyer is a lawyer who is between the age of 1 and 7. However, we also know that there are lawyers who are within the age of 1 and 7 but had law as their second degree. So if you had a retired police officer who was a commissioner of police before he retired and then came back to study law, while he's between age 1 and 7, I'm certain that you will know that he will not have any challenge with making waves as far as the practice of law profession is concerned. But for me, when I started, of course, law was my first and only degree. When I started practice as a lawyer in 2011, like every other young lawyer, I went through my NYSC service, NYSC at Anambra State. So I had the challenge of going into the profession like every other young lawyer. The trepidation is always there. But for me, I had the opportunity of working with Honorable Justice B.F. Adeyeye as a staff attorney. So I didn't have much of legal practice experience. I was more into the judiciary. So it was after I spent about 7 years there that I crossed back into legal practice. The period for which I had spent in the judiciary gave me the opportunity to garner enough experience. So when I came back into full practice in 2018, I didn't find it really tough, particularly that I had to work with my elder brother, Omotola Odusola. So he gave me a level playing ground for me to know the little that I know today. So for me, I wouldn't say I have much of difficult moments practicing as a young lawyer.
So the cold field mentality was not there for you?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't really there. It wasn't really, because when I was a staff attorney to Honorable Justice Adeyeye, I was more of an administrative lawyer who was seeing it from the field. I was always in court, but I was not doing anything that has to do with advocacy like other lawyers. But we were always there. After court, I'll sit down with him. We'll go through the legal authorities, we'll go through most processes that they file. So, but it was after I left judiciary after 7 years, I came back into full legal practice that I started my practice as a lawyer. And as at that time, I was far more than the caliber of persons whom you can refer to as young lawyers.
Going forward, Barrister Odusola, would you prefer magistracy to continue to practice?
Speaking for me personally, I wouldn't prefer magistracy, not at all. That is speaking for me. However, at the time when I left the judiciary to join legal practice, I had friends that were in the legal field and the field of legal practice that had to cross over to the magistracy. So it's a personal thing, and everybody has his or her own reasons for saying they want to either stay in the magistracy or stay in legal practice. But for me, I would always pick legal practice anytime, any day.
As a lawyer, what's your driving force?
My driving force is helping the less privileged. There are lots of persons that do not have the finances to defend their rights. And for those reasons, you realize that a lot of persons face a lot of challenge, particularly if you go to the police station today, like we all know. In fact, recently you would understand that the Minister for Interior, Dr. Olubumi Tunjojo, had to do a lot to ensure that a lot of inmates were set free. So it is because we have a lot of persons that are financially challenged and they are unable to defend their rights. So that makes them become incarcerated. So for me, the driving force is helping the legal, to help the less privileged actualize their dreams, to ensure that their rights are being protected without having to go through the rigors of raising money to defend their rights, to get a lawyer. So that is one of my driving forces.
You've been watching the Polity talk show, and of course I have been talking with my guest, Barrister Omotola Odusola. We'll be back in a moment. Back to the Polity talk show, and in case you are just tuning in, my guest has been Barrister Omotola Odusola, the Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association Okitipupa Division. I've complained about administration of criminal justice has been slow. Do you agree? And if you do, what advice would you offer?
Administration of criminal justice is a branch of our laws. I think most importantly, except for constitutional matters and matters that are specifically civil, criminal matters are sui generis on their own. With respect to administration of criminal justice, for lawyers, or let me say for non-lawyers, because this interview is particularly to enlighten the public. For non-lawyers, I'm sure they share the opinion that the administration of justice in Nigeria is very slow. However, it is due to the fact that there is always procedure in our laws. You meet someone where he's believed to be stealing, committing that act. Our law presumes that person innocent until he's proved guilty. So by our law, you're supposed to get that person arrested, taken to the police station, he makes statements, and then charged to court. Even in court, they read the charge to him and the person pleads not guilty. That is because the law is, that person is presumed not guilty until it's proven otherwise. So by virtue of that, the public expects that the day that person is charged to court, he's sentenced, he's committed to prison. That is not the case. I'm sure that will take about 2, 3, 4, 5 adjournments where parties would have to canvass their case this way or that way before the court gets to the conclusion that that person is actually guilty of that charge. So I'm certain that the public sees that as a slow mode of administering justice. But the reason why we have to go through this procedure, why the law provides for this procedure, is because there have been cases where innocent persons are being arrested. Frivolous allegations are made against innocent persons. And the public would just believe that this person has committed the crime. In fact, there are so many ongoing cases now that I do not, for specific reasons, don't want to make mention of. You see several media trials where so person would have been said to have stashed so number of millions. But you realize that when we get into the case proper, you would realize that such persons have been maligned against. So the reality is that our law provides for procedure. And even at that same court, if you are aggrieved, if you do not get what you call justice, you have the appellate court to approach so that you'll be able to ventilate your anger against the lower courts. So by law, in the face of the law, there are procedures for administering justice, and that is why it appears slow in the face of the public.
What improvement would you say the current MBA has brought to bear on the polity as regards issues of security?
Let me look at it from the perspective of the governor, the immediate past governor. May the Lord bless his soul. Governor Oluwarotimi Oduayo is a man of his words. In fact, he stood firm during the period when we were ravaged by high tension of insecurity in the whole of the Southwest. He was the former national president of the Nigerian Bar Association, And while he was governor of Ondo State, he stood his ground and ensured that insecurity was nipped to almost the barest minimum. So for Nigeria as a whole, in fact, I would realize that it is not only Nigeria that is being ravaged by insecurity. We have, even recently in Burundi, in Sudan, we have a lot of rebel groups that are attacking day in, day out. So it's not only Nigeria, but we only call on the security agencies to double their efforts. And we also plead with the government, the president, to give them more support so that they'll be able to face this challenge frontally.
I believe you actually have more informed opinion from the council in the House today on the Polity Talk Show. Barrister Omotola Odusola, thank you so much for coming. And of course, I hope if issues evolve in the polity that's got to do with your profession, I would have easy access to you once again. Until when the Polity Talk Show will hit your screen again, compliment of the season, I am Steve Oviri. Bye-bye.